Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com, and welcome to the podcast. This is episode 50, Phone Dog Live on Friday. If you're watching this live on Ustream, thanks for being here. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you're watching the recording of this on YouTube, thank you also for watching. Check out the description below the video because I'm going to have a timeline there where you can use that to kind of jump around and choose whatever topic you'd like to listen to. But really, we only have like two topics this week, so there won't be too much skipping around. Galaxy S3 and BlackBerry World, which includes also BlackBerry 10. So that's what we're going to be talking about, and obviously we're going to be starting with the Galaxy S3. Just announced yesterday, and it's well, first we'll just talk about it, and then we'll kind of get into, we'll get into all my feelings. We'll start talking about my feelings, and also your feelings too. You can also, leave your comments on Ustream or on YouTube, and let me know how you feel about it. So, first of all, it turned out being like sort of what we had heard from the rumors, and then like sort of what we had heard from other rumors, and then all kind of like came together. And by the time we saw the specs, we were like, oh, okay, that's kind of what we were expecting. So 4.8-inch display, 720p, so 1280 by 720. 4.8 inches, is we had heard that. We'd also heard, I think, 4.7, and we might have heard 4.6. But we'd heard 4.8, and I think it was last week when I was talking about the rumors. I think I said, and this should have been as no surprise to you guys, I think I said that I suspected it would have like a 4.6 or 4.7 inch display, because I was like, 4.8 inches, that's just too big. And as usual, I was wrong. I mean, if you watch this show at all, I have been wrong about every prediction I have ever made, and so I don't know. I don't even know why I say these things anymore. I shouldn't. I should just keep my mouth shut. But anyway, so 4.8 inches. The interesting thing is that although it is kind of big, it's kind of a large display, Samsung actually made the bezel thinner, so the phone is not that much bigger than the Galaxy S2, which had like a 4.6 inch display, I think. So, the display is larger, but the phone itself, is pretty much about the same size. But, I still think that for the most part, like one-handed navigation is going to be difficult on such a large display. I give kudos to Samsung for making the bezel thinner so that, the phone isn't that much bigger and it doesn't feel like a brick in your hand, but it's still the same size display, still 4.8 inches. And if you watch like hands-on videos, you can see people holding it, and I see them holding it, and in general, like, they're all guys, because tech world is all guys, and so I see them holding it, and they've they're guys, so they have kind of big hands, and even for them, they have kind of a hard time reaching across, getting to something that's, on the other side, the opposite side from where their thumb is. It seems kind of difficult, for one-handed use. It may bother some people, it may not. I think for me, a little bit too big, but it's, great resolution, 1280 by 720, which means you're going to get about 306 pixels per inch, which is a little bit less than what you get on the iPhone. Which I think, what is that, 316 or 326? I think the iPhone is 326 pixels per inch. So 326, yeah, okay, thanks. So, kind of a little bit less than that, which isn't a big deal. I mean, once you get up into, HD resolution, it's a Super AMOLED display. Once you get into all of these things, it's like the pixels per inch, that's really like just bragging rights, really, because the display is going to look so good that those extra 20 pixels per inch, I mean, you're not really going to notice it, but the disappointing thing, and I cannot believe Samsung did this, I'm just like, oh my god, no way. It's a pin-tile display, which is beyond annoying, beyond frustrating. This isn't even about, it's beyond just like, oh, I don't like pin-tile displays because you can see the pixels, and so I don't like them. I'm just gonna go with something. This is like, oh my God, are you stupid? I mean, come on. This is, and it's totally noticeable. Like, I just finished up, well, not just finished up, I think it was like last week. Just finished up a review with the 1S, which doesn't look very good right now because I'm working on customizing it and all that crap. But anyway, so I'm working on the 1S. Awesome device, awesome display, but it has a pin-tile display, and I noticed it like as soon as I turned it on. And I hadn't looked at the spec sheet, so I hadn't like refreshed myself, so I forgot that it was a pin-tile display. And so the minute I turned it on, I was like, are those pixels? What's this? What are these pixels? I mean, I know maybe it's just because, we've been spoiled and we have all these amazing displays, but I mean, seriously, it wouldn't be so bad if it weren't avoidable. I mean, if it were like, okay, that's what you do, or that's the display. I mean, if there wasn't any other option, but there is. I mean, there's other options. You don't have to. It's just very frustrating. And, I'm not saying it's like it's gonna ruin the phone and oh my gosh, it's a pin-tile display, it's gonna look horrible. I mean, it's still gonna be a great display. Like I said, you're getting an HD resolution. You're getting a super AMOLED display, so the colors are gonna be very bright and vivid. Good saturation. It's still going to look good. And the 1S, the display looks great. It's not. I don't sit there and like cry over the pixels, but it is kind of just that extra little thing that you're like, I wish it weren't pin-tile. You can love it, but you're always going to be thinking of that. At least, people like us, like, tech nerds. I mean, the average consumer, like, will totally not care, and so it's not a big deal. But just knowing that, I think, is just, it's frustrating. 1.4 gigahertz Exynos 4 quad. The name of the processor is Exynos 4 Quad, and then it's a quad-core processor. So I don't know if we say Exynos 4 quad-core processor, because then that makes it sound like it's like 4 times 4, like 16 cores. It's not. It's just the name is quad, and then it's a quad-core processor. I don't know. But that's the international version. When it comes to the U.S., I would be surprised if it had. I mean, I think it's pretty much a given. Of course, like I said, my predictions are always wrong, so I will probably be wrong about this, but it's pretty much a given now. I think everybody is accepting this, that when it comes to the US, it will not have the quad-core processor. Just because, the same problem that the Galaxy S2 had. The international version had an Exynos processor. I mean, it was a dual-core processor, but it was an Exynos processor, and it just wasn't compatible with, the LTE radios that we use in the U.S. or, HSPA+. So, probably in the U.S. we're going to get the Snapdragon S4 processor, which is not bad. I mean, the Crate CPU some people would say it's just as good as the quad-core processor. And that's kind of something that, people talk about a lot with the HTC One X and the One S. The One X has a quad-core processor and the One S has a dual-core processor, but it's the S4, and it's like, it's so fast. I mean, I can tell you, after reviewing the One S and it has that S4 processor and using it and doing benchmarks, it's like, it's amazingly fast. Like, absolutely no lag whatsoever. Just amazing. So yeah, it won't have a quad-core processor when it comes to the US, but still, the S4 processor, like, that's not really something to complain about. 1 gigabyte of RAM, so, again, just helping out with multitasking. It will come in 16 and 32 gigabyte varieties, and I think there will also be a 64 gig model. I don't know if that's just not available right now, but it will be eventually. But we should see that. 8 megapixel camera. We'd heard that it could have a 12 megapixel camera, but it's not. It's 8 megapixels, and then you have it's like a 1.9 megapixel front-facing camera, but I mean, 2 megapixel. There's some kind of interesting camera features that Samsung announced, and a lot of these are like we've seen already, but it's still nice to have them. So you have zero shutter lag. We saw that in the Galaxy Nexus. So you have that burst shot, which HTC started using with the One series. So you can take 20 continuous photos, and or you can turn on best photo mode, and you can take eight continuous photos, and then the camera will, or the phone will pick the best one, or what it thinks is the best one, and then you can choose that, or you can choose another one if you think another one is better. I don't know how it decides like this one is better, and you're like, what's the criteria here? I mean, it's funny because when you watch all of these, I watch the hands-on videos and they show these, and they just kind of like do like of like a wall or a whatever happens to be nearby, and they do the quick burst shot, and they're really just staying in one spot, and then it says this one is the best one, and I'm like, they all look alike. I don't know how it picks that. So but you have that, kind of a nice feature. And I was thinking, this is sort of related to cameras. There's all of these cool features like zero shutter lag, which is great. Being able to turn on the phone and get to the camera in like a second. Burst mode, I think that's awesome. There's some point and shoot cameras that don't have these features. Like my point and shoot camera, I turn it on and it takes like a second or two to load. I mean, I don't have burst shot. You have like, if you get a DSLR, obviously you can take like a million photos in a second. But like the average point and shoot camera, some of these phone cameras are more advanced than these point and shoot cameras. Of course, those are just features. I mean, overall camera quality, that's debatable. But anyway, so just some cool features with a camera. Samsung, there was a lot. There was a lot of features, and they kind of just like went right through them. They spent like a couple of minutes on each one, and they just like went right through them. It wasn't like, which is kind of nice, because you go to Apple conference, Apple events, and it's like they spend forever on these stupid features that nobody cares about. Like they talk about iPhoto for 10 minutes and GarageBand, and you can create photo albums and do this and that for 30 freaking minutes. I'm like, nobody cares. And so it's kind of nice whenever Samsung was like, yeah, it's got this and this and this is how it works, boom, next topic, and you're like, wow, that was really nice. So anyway, a couple of more features. Smart Stay, this is actually pretty cool. So the display will, whenever you're looking at it, it will stay on, which is because like sometimes you're on a web page or something, and of course I have my display to not to stay on for like 10 minutes because I get so tired of it, because I do reviews, and so like I'll be on camera and I hate it when it shuts off after like 30 seconds, so I have it to stay on for 10 minutes. But say whatever, this is a new feature where as long as you're looking at the display, the phone will be able to see you looking at it, and it will not turn off the display. So if you're reading a web page or you're reading a book or whatever, it'll stay on. Even if you have it set to shut off after like 2 minutes, it'll still stay on as long as you're looking at it. And then whenever you stop looking at it, then it'll turn off, which is kind of a cool feature. I mean, there's a couple of like unknowns here, like does it turn off like immediately as soon as I look away? Because what if I just like look up and then I look back down? I mean, I'm gonna have to so kind of some unknowns here, but still a very cool feature. You also have S voice, which is like basically Siri, pretty much, which is great. I mean, I'm not like, that's not a knock on Samsung. I'm like totally happy they included this feature, because it's kind of a cool feature, and I don't know how many people will use it, or if anybody uses it, or if it's helpful at all, but hey, it's there. And it's a little bit different from Siri, because you don't actually have to push a button. You just say, hello Galaxy, or hello Galaxy S, or hello Galaxy. You just say like hello Galaxy, and it'll automatically open the interface. Watching like demo videos, it didn't always work because they were in a freaking loud room, and so it couldn't always recognize it. But I saw a couple where it did work, and you could ask for the weather or different things like that. Now, again, they didn't go into a lot of detail about this. So I don't know like how advanced it is, or how much it really understands you. Again, with Apple's presentations, they spent like 45 minutes on Siri, so they told us exactly how it worked, and they gushed over it, and so we knew pretty much like what it could do. Whereas with this one, I'm like, so is it like right now when I can just say what's the weather in Dallas and it'll tell me, or is it like more advanced where I can say, will I need a coat, will I need a jacket today, and it will know to give me the weather. I mean, like, I don't know how advanced it is, but you have that feature. A couple of other things, like when your alarm goes off in the morning, you can say snooze and it'll snooze automatically, which actually could be more, detrimental rather than helpful. There's this new multitasking feature called pop-up play, where if you're watching a video and you want to, do something else, you can sort of like minimize the video and it will stay on the screen, but you can go do whatever. You can go home, you can go messaging, you can do whatever on the phone, and the video will just be on this kind of like minimized window, and it'll still be playing. You can move it around anywhere on the screen and then just do whatever you want to do at the same time, which is, takes multitasking to another level, and kind of subtly shows off how smooth the phone is in terms of performance. I mean, you're watching a video and it's playing smoothly while at the same time doing something else. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So those are the features. Just kind of a quick recap, and they're pretty cool. Now that's software. Hardware is kind of a different story, because the software is great. I think TouchWiz, to me, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to like get an in-depth look and compare like previous version of TouchWiz to the new version of TouchWiz, but it looks different, obviously, because it's with Android 4.0, so it's going to look different. But to me, I don't know, it seems like it clashes with Android 4.0, whereas before it was smooth, and it was kind of like its own OS, like most skins are, like HTC Sense. Most skins are, they're so heavily integrated that they're like their own OS. Whereas this new TouchWiz with Android 4.0, it just kind of seems to clash, and I don't know, something about it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But that's personal preference. But hardware is kind of a different story. So Samsung has said that they have modeled this after nature, and it's built for humans, but it's supposed to mimic like pebbles and leaves and grass and water and all this stuff, and it's like a really hippie thing, but supposedly it's supposed to mimic those kinds of things. So just taking a quick look at this gallery, it comes in two colors, white, blue. You can see really curvy. It's a little bit thicker than the previous model, but still extremely thin. The battery is removable, so that's nice. But you can see it's got some nice curved edges here. I mean, very smooth. You can see the back. It's not the ceramic back that we thought it would be, but still it's it's nice. I mean, it's a nice looking phone. It's got some nice curves. I like the edges, that band kind of like tapers off. You can kind of see in the corner here. I like those kind of features, and you can also see how thin the bezel is. I mean, it's a pretty phone. I mean, it's kind of pretty, but it's just not flagship material. When I look at this phone, I think, that's a nice phone. Like, if Samsung were to release it, or if, LG or whoever released it, here's a phone, $200, buy it. Like the typical phone release where it's like not that big of a deal, but, it's a nice phone, you're excited about it. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, it looks nice. But, I mean, for the Galaxy S3, the flagship phone, one of the biggest launches of the year, Samsung said it was the biggest launch of the year, but, one of the biggest launches of the year, this is a big deal. This is a huge deal for Samsung. And the design is sort of just like, I don't know. I mean, the curviness, that's so like not early 2000s, because I don't know if phones were that advanced, but early phones, they were all curvy, and especially Samsung, they had the rounded edges, and it kind of made them look cheap. And so now we have kind of the harder edges with some curves thrown in, but it's more about making a statement and strong, and HTC uses metal and metallics, and you've got all these like great strong hardware designs, Whereas with the Galaxy S3, it's basically just a plastic little circle oval. I mean, it looks nice. It's not ugly. I mean, some people will think it's ugly, and that's, I mean, I think it looks pretty. It's okay, but it's just, I don't know. I was very disappointed by the design, and I think a lot of people are. It's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just that it's really not what people expected. I mean, you think about the Galaxy S2, it looked great. The original Galaxy, also looked good. In this one, like, it's just so rounded and just so curved and I don't know. I'm trying to find words to express, like, just why I was disappointed in the design. But it's boring. It's uninspired, okay? That's what it is. It's uninspired. This looks like a phone, like I said, that Samsung would release in, June or July, just kind of random time of the year, release it. It's a great phone, but they don't really put a lot of work into it. It's very uninspired. And to think that they spent a year designing this, you're just like, really? Because that's not anything special. I mean, it's curved edges. Wow. I mean, I don't know. And then they tried to play it up by saying it's based on nature, and they also talked about, which I think is completely pointless, but they talked about the sounds, how it uses like water sounds and sounds from nature for the sound effects when you unlock it and whenever you perform certain actions. And I'm just like, so what if I don't like those sounds? I mean, I'm going to change them, right? So that was pointless. And they tried to play it up, but I think it was much ado about nothing, really. The hardware to me was extremely disappointing. The back has a hypergloss finish, which is basically means it's a fingerprint magnet more than any other phone. Glossy plastic is already a fingerprint magnet, but now it's going to be like even more because it's hypergloss, so it's like hyper fingerprint magnet. It's kind of crazy, but anyway, overall, my opinions, specs, great. I mean, great specs. You can't really be disappointed by any of that. Hardware, I don't think anyone is impressed, and I think because of that, we're very disappointed. Like, we need to be impressed. If you're gonna compete with Apple, which is what, by saying this is the biggest launch of the year, by saying that, you're directly putting yourself in the same category as Apple, which the Galaxy S already was. The original Galaxy S was. The Galaxy S2 was. So, I mean, it already was there, but if you want to stay there, we need to be impressed, and we're not. It's a curved plastic phone. I mean, wow. We've seen those for, 5, 6 years, 10 years, and it's not going to do it anymore. So that's basically what I think. And I don't know, probably not everyone will feel that way. Some people will like it, but that's the Galaxy S3. And we can move on now. So second topic is BlackBerry World and BlackBerry 10. This was Monday through Thursday, but most of the big stuff was like on Tuesday and Wednesday. Monday was like the opening sort of thing. They didn't have a whole lot of events, but Tuesday and Wednesday were the big days. I actually got to go, which is pretty cool. I've never been to one of those conferences before, because Aaron is usually the one that covers it. He's the editor-in-chief, so he's usually the one that covers, the events and the launches, CTIA and CES and stuff like that. But it was kind of like last minute, and so he let me go. And so it was pretty cool. I was incredibly nervous. I had no idea what I was doing. I got there, and I got there, I checked into the hotel, and the hotel was actually, the hotel was like a resort, so it was huge. It had a ton of conference rooms. So the hotel where I stayed was the hotel where it was at. So anyway, I checked in, and I was like, okay, so what do I do now? And so anyway, but I managed, and I think I did a pretty good job. I tried my best. So the big thing was on Tuesday morning. RIM CEO Torsten Heinz, which I always thought it was Thorsten Heinz because it's spelled Thorsten, So I always pronounced it Thorsten, but they all said Torsten, so that was new to me. He took the stage for the opening keynote. It was his first keynote as CEO, his first event really as CEO, and announced BlackBerry 10. And this was a big deal because, you know, well, we all know RIM is struggling. Okay, it's RIM is struggling. It's received a lot of bad press. They've had a lot of problems, losing customers, losing market share, losing money, losing pretty much they're losing in every category possible. And people are just not, they don't really like BlackBerry anymore. There's a loyal following. There are a lot of BlackBerry fans, but for the most part, people don't like BlackBerry anymore. And so it's his job now to turn the ship around. And so a lot of the event was about BlackBerry 10, but it was also just about him. Like, can he actually turn RIM around? Do they know what they're doing? Have they realized their mistakes? Have they changed? Are they trying to fix things? Or is this just a new update but still making the same mistakes? I mean, it was about that also. And I can tell you the mood, it was positive. I think people were actually very impressed. I was really impressed by, him, his presentation, and also just his confidence. He had this, because on Wednesday, he did which was totally awesome. He did a Q&A with the press, which was like what? I mean, the CEO of this company is, invited, 200 press members into a room and, talked. And, he was honest. He let us ask questions. He was very candid. He talked about what they were doing wrong, why it was wrong. Anyway, so I was sitting there, listening and like typing every word he spoke. But there was just this confidence. He looked like he had this air about him, like he knew what he was doing. He had a plan. He believed in the plan. He had goals, and he knew how to accomplish them. And it was kind of that feeling where you were like, you know what? I believe in this man. I believe in this man. And I'm not even a BlackBerry fan. So honestly, like, I don't care if BlackBerry tanks. Like, obviously I want competition. And so I want BlackBerry to succeed. I want Windows Phone to succeed. Or whoever, WebOS, if it comes back. I want somebody else to succeed besides Android and iOS because, we need variety. But, I'm not like personally invested in BlackBerry, neither monetarily or emotionally. But despite all of that, I believed in him, and I was like, you know what? He can do this. He is going to do this. He's going to turn it around because he was confident. He was in control. And that was the biggest thing. RIM, there were so many these different ideas, and they were doing all of these different things, and they were all wrong. But he knows this is what we need to do, and this is what we're going to do. He was just very in control, and I think that instilled a lot of confidence in the company and in the BlackBerry fans who are emotionally invested in it. And it also made the press like him more because, he wasn't standoffish. He was honest. He was open. He talked to us, and that's something that RIM needs. RIM needs the press to like them because, it's been bad press this entire time. Everyone's talking about why RIM is going down, what they're doing wrong. And admittedly, I mean, it's all right. It's not like we're making this stuff up. But, like, there's not a lot of negative press about Android or iOS, despite when they make mistakes. But it's because, everybody likes Steve Jobs because, Android, they're open, they feed their developers. People like those companies, and RIM needs that. And I think he did a great job of just making people like him, but also making people trust him. And so that was a big part of BlackBerry World. I mean, we're going to talk about BlackBerry 10, but a big part of BlackBerry World was just RIM's posture and mindset. Did they have the right posture and mindset? And I think they do. I think he does, Torsten Hines. And I think I'm very excited for RIM and for BlackBerry fans because I think it's going to be great. and I think he's the right man for the job. BlackBerry 10 was equally as impressive. It's I read some articles. People were kind of skeptical and cynical about it, and I think some of that is just because it's BlackBerry, and so it's like everybody's skeptical about it, and like it's okay. But it has a lot of promise, and I think it's actually. I think they've done a lot of really great things, and yeah, I mean they've got widgets or what looks like widgets. I'll show you guys kind of a quick picture of the home screen, which you've probably already seen, but let me see. So, you can see the home screen here, and it looks like widgets. You got weather and different things like that, which is like an Android thing, and it has a couple of other, it kind of looks like Windows Phone with the square tiles. Like, yeah, it's got all these features that, look like Android and iOS and all that crap, but it looks great. I mean, like, so maybe it's not completely innovative, but it looks, I mean, if it's working for Android, why not? And of course, like, it's not I don't want it to be a blatant copy, and it's not. So, that's good. Obviously, if it were a blatant copy, then I would be pretty upset. But, they've put their own spin on it and it actually is, they've added some pretty awesome features that, you don't see in other OSs. The multitasking, I don't want to interface, but also, just the method almost. It's not really an interface because you don't know that you're using any sort of interface at all. You're kind of just doing. You're kind of just, switching between apps, and you don't have to use a certain, go to a certain window or go to a certain thing. You just go. Okay, so basically the way it works, I'll just tell you, is that whenever you're in an app, you just swipe to the right. You can swipe to the right, and you can either glance at the previous window, whether it be a different app or like if you're if you're reading an email, the previous window would be like your inbox, So, previous window or previous app, you can swipe, you can either glance at it and then, let go and swipe back, or you can continue to swipe all the way over and it'll go back to that window. Very simple, but it's intuitive. It's like, okay, I don't have to, double press a button to bring up the window, or I don't have to press this button to bring up all of the tabs and slide through, or I don't have to hold down home to get, I don't have to use an interface. I don't have to let the phone tell me this is how you're going to do it. I want to slide to the next one, and it just seems very intuitive. I mean, extremely simple, but, great. Also, RIM was very, Heinz, what's what I'm looking for, emphasized this, that it's true multitasking. The apps are running in the background. They don't pause. So they are actually running in the background, which, is great. It's true multitasking. But I thought, one of the reasons, I can show you guys a couple of pictures. For example, here's a good example of like what I'm talking about. So you can see here, like sliding between one, to the other. You can also do this to get to menus. So for example, here you can see on the left, the person is sliding from right to left. And then you can bring the menu all the way over. So you can use it for multitasking, or you can slide the opposite direction to bring up a menu. But anyway, so the reason why, it's a nice idea, and I was, reading some other blogs, is because it's very much BlackBerry. And this might not have been something I thought about because I'm not a heavy BlackBerry user, but one of the big things about BlackBerry is one-handed use. You use the trackpad for everything. So you don't need to, hold it with one hand and, scroll and pinch to zoom. You have the trackpad. So you do one-handed use for everything. And that's a BlackBerry thing. BlackBerry users are probably used to that. And the nice thing with this is that you can continue that. You don't have to hold down and kind of like scroll or push buttons or, pinch. You just, you continue to use one hand, swipe with your thumb over. I mean, it's a very BlackBerry thing, which kind of makes you appreciate it even more. They didn't just come up with this random idea. They were thinking about, okay, how do BlackBerry users do this, and how can we make it work for a full touchscreen? And so I think BlackBerry users would really appreciate that. Another cool feature is with the keyboard. So they showed off the virtual keyboard. They didn't show off the physical keyboard because the developer unit is touch only. And so, they didn't have one with a physical keyboard. But he said they will have BlackBerry 10 devices with physical keyboards. But the virtual keyboard, it's a great virtual keyboard. You can type, and it's got some features from Swift key, where like you can slide to the left on the keyboard and it will erase the last word that you typed. It's got like some of those features. But one of the cool features, again going back to BlackBerry's being really great for one-handed use, is that whenever you're typing with one hand, the keyboard is programmed to... That's my phone. The keyboard is programmed to learn you. And so it'll learn your typing patterns, it'll learn your speech patterns, like the way that you talk, and it will slowly adapt to you. And one way that this feature was shown was with using the keyboard to type with one hand. So let me go to BlackBerry 10 keyboard. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it here, but you can see on the keyboard, I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but on the keyboard, the next word that you want to type will actually pop up on the keyboard. It's like word prediction, which we've seen before. There's keyboards that have that, Swift key has that, where, once it learns your typing patterns, it'll predict the next word and it'll show up in a bar. But the difference with this is that the word is actually on the keyboard and actually on the next letter that you would use. So it knows, okay, you typed then, and then the next word you're going to type is home. And so the word home will show up on the H. So for one thing, it's intuitive, but it's also easy. So you just slide up and the word home will, go to your message. You don't have to type it. It was just, little things like that really made it perfect for people who are already BlackBerry users, who have already gotten used to this way of doing things, and they've made it work, but also made it kind of pretty too, very attractive. And that was one of the things that Torsten Heinz emphasized in the press session. He said, obviously they want to make it work. He said BlackBerry is for people who are successful. Again, emphasizing that it's for business enterprise users. I mean, obviously they do have consumer features. They showed multimedia, gaming, camera, video, things like that, but also, for business users primarily. So he said, it's for that kind of person, but just because it's an enterprise device doesn't mean it has to be ugly or boring. He said the next question was, how do we make it attractive? And so it is actually very attractive, and I think they've done a great job. Now, obviously, we didn't see a lot. We saw the camera, we saw the keyboard, we saw the kind of the interface, the glance interface, the cascades. I was talking about multitasking. We saw that, but we didn't see the app drawer, the home screen. We only saw it for a second. There's a lot that we haven't seen, so it's kind of hard to pass judgment either way. But from what we've seen, it looks really good. It looks like RIM has learned their lesson. It's actually a ground-up revision. This is not just an update to BlackBerry 7. This is a completely new operating system. Everything about it is completely different, which also means that BlackBerry 7 devices will not be upgraded to BlackBerry 10. But it's a completely new operating system. So, this goes back to purchasing QNX, the astonishing tribe who designed the Cascades UI, and then QNX is the OS. It's a completely new operating system, and I think it really shows that they've spent a lot of time on it, and they're totally committed to making it perfect. He said he wanted to show it to us, he wanted to release it, but he wants to make sure it's absolutely perfect. So they're not going to release it too early. The playbook was released without native email or calendar support, which was just dumb. And they're not going to make that mistake anymore. It was little things throughout the whole event. You could tell that they've really learned their lesson. And I really think that he's doing a good job so far, and it was fun. It was really fun to be there. You know, like I said, it was my first event, so it was just it was pretty cool. So, but that's BlackBerry 10. That's BlackBerry World, and that's the show. Perfect timing. I have 2 minutes early, but for the most part, kind of exciting. I mean, the Galaxy S3, always exciting. Anytime we see a new Galaxy S, because it's a flagship phone. It's one of the ones that everybody wants. I'm disappointed by the hardware, but maybe once I get my hands on it or something, I'll feel differently about it. And then BlackBerry 10, I really do think that this is a defining moment for RIM, and I think they nailed it. I think the company nailed it, and I think Torsten Heinz really nailed it. So, those are my thoughts, and that's the show. So we can move on now to the open Q&A. If you have any questions, you can ask questions about BlackBerry 10 or the Galaxy S3. If there's something that you want to know, something specific, you can ask me about that, or you can ask me about anything else. I'm on Ustream, I'm on Facebook. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, leave your comment. I read those. I try to answer some if I can. Okay, do you have the Dev Alpha? No, I'm not a developer, so only developers got it. But I did get hands-on time with it. This was the only part that was kind of annoying, but I completely understand. So there's a press room, at the conference where all the press are, and there's 200 of us in there. They had 2 units for us to look at. So there's 2 separate tables. There's 100 people huddled around this little phone, all of us trying to grab it and get a picture and hold it and just do anything with it, because everyone, coverage, it's all about coverage. We got to be the first one to get the picture. So it was annoying, but I did get to see it, and I took some pictures. I have a gallery online if you want to see it. I happened to, on the last day, I was relaxing. I was sitting down and drinking coffee, and the guy sat down in front of me, and he pulled out a box, and it said BlackBerry 10, and I was like, what? And it turned out to be the developer unit. I was like, oh my god, is that the developer phone? It was right in front of me. It was pretty crazy. But I had already gotten pictures, so it was kind of pointless. When is BlackBerry 10 released? So I'm going to say something that hopefully doesn't get me in trouble. I doubt that it will, because I doubt the people who would get mad watch this show. So I was at the showroom where they have all the booths, and there was a T-Mobile booth, and I went up to it and I was talking to the guy, and I just asked, when are you guys going to get BlackBerry 10 phones? Do you know? And he said probably before November, which isn't anything entirely new. We had heard by the end of the year, towards the end of the year, we had heard maybe October to December, somewhere in there. So it wasn't entirely new, but he gave a more specific date of before November. He said it would probably be sometime before that. So anyway, I tweeted it, because I was like, that's interesting. So I tweeted it, and then T-Mobile emailed me and told me to remove the tweet. So, but I doubt T-Mobile watches this. So anyway, that's what I heard. It's not official, obviously. It's just from a T-Mobile guy. So, T-Mobile hasn't said anything official. They haven't announced anything. That's just what I happened to hear. Okay, any word on the HTC One V? No, nothing new. We do, again, heard it was going to go to Virgin Mobile for under $200, but that's the last that we heard. Why does T-Mobile always get second-level phones? Because T-Mobile is a value company. Their plans are cheaper, and their phones are cheaper, and so they know who their target audience is, and that's who they target. That's why. Do you think that Apple will announce iOS 6 at WWDC? What are you expecting for it? Sure, yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. WWDC is now, not as interesting as it used to be. I would be surprised if we saw anything huge. We might see the next version of macOS 10, but that's kind of my expectations. Do you think that Sony made the right choice to update their old phones, the Arc and the Ray Neo, to ice cream sandwich before their new phones. It's probably frustrating. I can understand if you're frustrated. But again, I don't know how they decide that. So it might have been easier, and they're probably thinking, like, people have had these phones for longer, so they should get it first. I think that makes sense. What do you think of the design of the Galaxy S3? Some people don't like its look. Yeah, I talked about that earlier, so I won't spend too much time on it now. But I'm disappointed. It's just a plastic curvy thing. I think it's not flagship material. That's the way I described it earlier. So I don't really like it too much. Will you stay with that HTC One S? It's a demo unit, and so I'm kind of using it like as my personal phone. Because we do that, and so yeah, I will until I still use my Windows Phone device though primarily. What is the best device coming to Verizon before the beginning of July? Let me see. Verizon. The Incredible 4G. That's already out. I don't have anything new coming to Verizon. Sorry. Are you serious? Sydney Lumia 900 is sold for the same price of my Radar. Tell that to T-Mobile. What do you want me to do about it? Okay. I'm just telling you what T-Mobile has said. That's what they said. They're a value company, and so they sell the lower end phones. Congrats, they finally sent you to a conference. Yeah, it was fun. Aaron is obviously more qualified. I mean, he has more experience in everything. So, I think he's the best man for the job, but I'm glad I got to go. It was pretty fun. Do you think the HTC One X will be worth getting on AT&T? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Pancakes or waffles? I kind of like both. But I guess pancakes, I'm more of a pancake girl. I love pancakes. I love breakfast food. I love all of that. Eggs, bacon, French toast, waffles, milk. I love breakfast food. And pancakes, I love pancakes. Favorite topping on pancake? Syrup. I don't really get anything else. What do you think about Samsung's Nature UX? Yeah, and I talked about this earlier, so I won't talk about it too much. Interesting idea. I love the fact that they're thinking about this crap, trying to make it the best they can. But I just don't like the results. I mean, it's, like I said, with the sounds, the sound effects are nature-y. I mean, I'm probably going to change that because I don't want a raindrop every time I press something. Like, that could get irritating. I would want something more subtle. So I'm probably going to change that. The wallpaper, it's, ripples in a pond. I'm going to change the wallpaper. I mean, it's, to me, it's, like I said, much ado about nothing, really. One X or S3? That's tough. I would, you can wait till a dogfight. I'm sure Aaron's going to do a dogfight as soon as he can with the Galaxy S3 and the HTC One X. I think I would go with the One X, but really, they're both equal. Honestly, if you were to compare the specs, which you could do yourself, they're going to be like pretty much identical. It just depends on like which UI you prefer, the hardware, what hardware you prefer, really. Will you rant more about that stupid Verizon commercial that uses GPS as a selling point? Yeah, I saw it. It was a Verizon commercial, and one of the selling points for the phone was GPS. So, like, you won't get lost because you have GPS. And I'm like, really? I mean, really? That's GPS? I mean, every phone... I couldn't believe that and the sad part was that they wouldn't do that if it didn't work, which means that somebody is going to walk into a store and get sold that phone because the salesman says it has GPS, and they're like, well, boom, get that for me. Every phone, I mean, it's Android, you have Google Maps built in anyway, just annoying. What is one feature you want on Windows Phone? One feature I want on Windows Phone. Maybe like I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough question. I really do like it. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I chose it, is because I like it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Sydney, when do you think the U.S. will get a quad-core device that's LTE capable? I'm not sure. Let me check Facebook, see if anyone is there. Oh, hey, the greatest tech giveaway ever 2. That's cool. I didn't even know about that. Apparently we're having another giveaway. That's fun. How do I get to... Give me Ustream on Facebook. Where is it? God, I hate Facebook. It's just like so stupid. Where is Ustream? Okay. There. Oh, Ustream? Is that it? Is that what I'm looking for? Okay, sweet. Okay, I'm on Facebook. What about the HTC Evo coming to Virgin Mobile? Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all we know. We don't really know anything else besides that. I missed the show. You can watch the recording of it. I'm going to post the recording. I usually try to do that on Saturdays, so it'll be on YouTube. A while back, a roadmap leaked of an original Samsung Galaxy S Epic successor for Sprint, Epic 4G2. Do you think it will still happen? I don't know. I do remember that rumor, but it was so long ago that I kind of doubt it now. The Galaxy S3, when it comes to Sprint, it might have a keyboard. I don't know. Pixie cuts are cool. Awesome. Any news about if Windows Phone Mango phones will get Apollo or not? The last we heard, and it seemed pretty certain, is that they will not get Apollo. So, originally, the Windows Phone evangelist, he said, which is so, the evangelist reminds me of like a preacher or something. I don't know. He's got like a church where he just preaches Windows Phone. I don't know, because evangelist. Anyway, so he said that they would be updated to Apollo, and then The Verge, they had sources that said it would not be updated to Apollo, and then he came back and said, yeah, you misinterpreted me. I did not say it would be upgraded to Apollo. So, as far as we know, current Windows Phone devices will not be updated to Apollo. I have to get off my mom's AT&T plan when I leave for college next year. Should I stay with AT&T or get a different carrier? Well, you should check coverage in your area. Really, find one that has the best coverage, and then if it's AT&T, stick with that. AT&T has its LTE network. Verizon, as far as like LTE, I've noticed in my area, this is just Dallas, Verizon has the fastest LTE. That may be different where you're at. So maybe like ask around, ask people, how's the LTE here? If you're going for a 4G phone, do that. And then, if you like the AT&T phones, stick with them. But if you want to switch, to a different phone that's on a different carrier, I mean, a lot of it is like coverage in your area, really, and then prices, budget. Sydney, I miss when you used to review feature phones. They were great. Thanks. Next iPhone could be a piece of paper, yet it will still break sales records. Nice. Does Aaron have a tablet? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Sydney, do you know why Sony hasn't released the Sony Xperia Ion yet? There hasn't been any news on it since CES. Sometimes it just takes a while. I mean, think about the Droid Razor, or no, the Bionic. The Bionic took like 9 months to be released. I'm not saying it's going to take that long, but sometimes it just takes a while. Yeah, I got the thing about feature phones. You can stop leaving that comment. Oh, we don't even have any moderators. I should set a moderator. Is anyone here I know that I recognize? Well, that's all right. There's not a lot of people here, so I can take care of it. Why do you prefer Windows Phone over everything else? Just, personal use. I mean, I carry an Android phone, and so, like, I like using Android. I carry it with me every day. For me, Windows Phone, it's very simple and minimalistic, but yet it's very attractive. Like, iOS is simple and minimalistic. It's a grid of icons, but to me, Windows Phone was just more attractive, and so that's why it just appealed to me. And everybody's different. Some people, they think it's ugly, and like that's fine. Just to me, it appealed to me, so that's why I like it. Sydney, favorite app on Android game wise? Actually, I just downloaded. I think before I went, I don't know when. I downloaded Temple Run, which I had heard about, like this whole fuss about it, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'll try it. And it's actually very awesome. So I think Temple Run. I don't really do a lot of mobile gaming, but that one I think is right now my favorite. Any news on the LG Optimus LTE 2? Let me see. I don't think I have any news on that. Where did my mouse go? Dude, okay. LG Optimus LTE 2. Yeah. I don't have anything new on that. Sydney, will any phone ever dethrone the iPhone 4S on the experts' top smartphone list? I don't know. There's actually, I don't know if you guys know how that system works, but we each vote, and then the computer says, okay, you voted this number 1, so it gets 5 points. Number 2 gets 4 points, and then it combines all of them, and whichever one has the most points, like that's number 1. But if you actually look at our lists, I think only a couple of us have the iPhone 4S as number 1. There's a lot of us who have it at number 2. The only reason why it's number 1 is because the other phones that are like number 2, 3, those are all like very different for each list, and so they get less points or more points or less points, whereas with the iPhone 4S it's always number 1 or 2, so it just consistently gets the most points, if that makes sense. But if you actually look at our list, wow, did you guys hear that? That was like a freaking army jet fighter plane that just flew over. That was pretty crazy. But yeah, if you actually look at our list, a lot of us have it at number 2. It's just the way that everything is calculated. So, it's 5 o'clock. It has been an hour. Thank you guys for watching. Did I miss anything on Facebook? No. Okay. I wanted to check just so I don't feel left out. But thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you missed anything, you can watch the recording of it. I'm going to have it on YouTube. And so you can check that out. I just realized that I was so close that my head was being cut off the entire time. Sorry about that. Anyway, but I guess I'll see you guys next Friday, same time, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Ustream. We'll be live. If you want to send me a message on Twitter and ask me a question, you can do that at phonedog_Sydney. But other than that, I'll see you guys later. Bye.